maybe you can help me. I'm thinking of actually redecorating my bedroom and putting on either these tiles or these tiles on one of the walls. And I'm kind of wonder, do you think I'll need more of these tiles to cover the wall or more of these big tiles to cover the wall? Interesting question. It's actually kind of an interesting math question, and it reminds me of a story about actually trying to actually measure a tabletop. Let's take a look at the question and see if this will help us answer my bedroom wall question. So here's the question. So suppose that we measure the area of this tabletop with a blue unit tile square and green unit squares. The question is, which unit square will give a greater number of square units for the area? So that's a very fancy way of saying which the number of squares required for covering with this tiny tile, will that number be greater than or less than the number of squares if I cover with this size tile? This tile uses unit square. And then we want to compare them. So let's just try and see. Let's take the big one first. And so if I take the tabletop, here's the tabletop, and if I want to cover it with these unit squares, so we're going to kind of measure the area with these as the units. There's one, there's two, and the idea is I want to fill up the tabletop. I don't want them overlapping. That won't give us the right measurement. And I don't want lots of gaps. That won't give us the measurements. They have to kind of line up just perfectly. And you can see mine's pretty good. Might not be perfect, but you can see it definitely is in the right spirit. And it looks like, can you guess how many I'm going to need? Looks like I'm going to need that many. And again, it's not perfect, but I'm doing it live, you know. There we go. And so how many do I need? Well, I can actually count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need 6 of the blue unit squares to actually measure the area of the tabletop. And what about if I use the little teeny green ones? You think I'll need more of them, or will I need less of them? That's what I want to figure out. Well, so let's see. If I use the green ones, I'm going to put the green ones in. I'm not going to draw them all in. I mean, you see, it would take me. Whoops. You would see it would take me a while here. You know, so that's a lot. But here I've done it in advance. There are a lot more of them. And you see why there's a lot more of them? There's a lot more of them because since they're smaller, it takes more of them to fill up the exact same area. And so if we measure this way, what do we see? We see that it'll take actually 24. It'll take 24 of these small green unit squares to actually fill up. Wow! 24 little green unit squares to fill up the same tabletop. Well, that's actually not very surprising, right? Because since they are so small, it requires a lot more of them to actually fill up the space. So that actually makes sense. So now we're ready to answer the question, which unit square will give you the greatest number of unit squares for the area? Well, we see the big one only required 6. The little teeny unit square required 24. And so we see what the answer is. The answer is that the green unit square will give a greater number of square units for the area, because since it's a smaller unit of measure, it requires a lot more of them to fill up the same space as a large unit of measurement that required just a few, because it was so large. So in terms of my own bedroom question, and actually decorating my bedroom question, I really would love to know what you think. Which one am I going to actually use more of, the black tiles or the purple tiles? Well, we know if it's the same wall, it's going to be the black tiles because it's so much smaller. I'm going to need a lot more of them just to fill up what would constitute one of these purple ones. So always the smaller unit of measure will require more of them to fill up the same amount of space as the larger unit of measure. Have fun measuring units in your life, and I'll see you soon.